What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Mythic Conversations, episode 21. And I already see the people commenting. They're already waiting for me. Someone saying, did he cancel this week? I can't remember. No, man, it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. I'm right on time. Thank you all very much for joining. We have a lot of stuff to cover tonight. It's going to be a very fun conversation. Not only do I have a table full of some fun customs behind me, but we've got a lot of Mythic Legions news to cover today. We're going to talk about the reveal this past weekend from ToyCon New Jersey. We're going to talk about LegionsCon. That announcement was dropped this week, and obviously I've got some news to bring you on that front. We're going to talk about some announcements elsewhere, Planetary Dog Toys, Wolf King Customs, and then, of course, tonight we're going to get furious because tonight is all about my Fury Clan gang. Really excited for the show. Let's get it started like we do every week. Welcome to Mythic Conversations. This is the weekly Mythic Legions show where we talk about all things Four Horsemen Studios and Mythic Legions. If you're tuning in for the first time and you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Jeremy Gerard. I am a Mythic Legions collector and customizer. I also have the distinct privilege of working as the digital marketing manager for Four Horsemen Studios. What that means is all the content you see at sourcehorseman.com is content that I help bring you. If you want to check out more of my work and my customs, you can do so on my Instagram page. That's at Mythic Customs, all one word, or on my website as well, www.mythiccustoms.com. And of course, every single week, Wednesday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, I'm right here doing this live show, Mythic Conversations. It's called Conversations because there is some back and forth. Well, this is 90 minutes of me rambling about Mythic Legions. There is a chat window in YouTube Live. Hit me up on the chat. Let me know what you want to talk about. I'm sure there's going to be some questions this week. I will do my best to answer those questions through the course of the show. So questions are coming in fast and furious here. Most people, as usual, just saying hello. Drew saying the dwarf looks interesting. Yeah, he's one of the ones I haven't shown yet. So if you've been following my Instagram the last few days, I've been showing my Fury Clan gang, which we're going to talk about in a little while. But a number of the customs on the table tonight are ones I haven't even gotten around to showing yet. I'm going to be showing Fury Clan for the rest of the week. So some of them that we're going to look at tonight, this is a little bit of a sneak peek of what's to come. Let's see. Chris saying, what's up? Yeah, what's up, everybody? Darth Maul vibes. So let's get it started. This past weekend, they had the ToyCon New Jersey show in actually Wayne, New Jersey. In the past, it has been in Parsippany. This one was actually in Wayne, New Jersey. So if you're not familiar with the ToyConNJ or ToyCon New Jersey show, this is a collectibles and pop culture collectibles type show that happens generally twice a year. There's usually a spring edition and then there's a fall edition. That is put on by Viteri Productions. So Viteri Productions is my good friend Joe Viteri. You may know him as the real life Lord Viteris. So the Lord Viteris figure from the Mythic Legions, was that Soul Spiller wave? That is actually based on a real character. That is based on my friend Joe Viteri, longtime supporter of Four Horsemen Studios, and really puts on all these pop culture type events in the New Jersey area. So I've been going to his shows for a couple of years now. Amazing events. I remember the first time I went because Four Horsemen Studios, they typically have a table there where they're selling stuff and they actually do debut figures there. Remember, they don't ever sell exclusives because they do want everybody to have access to the figures. So they have show exclusives there. Oddly enough, one of the show exclusives they did last year was actually the Fury Clan Orc. He made his debut debut at ToyCon New Jersey before being, fully released down the road for everyone to get. So with everything going on with COVID, obviously toy shows are something that have been, canceled and postponed. There was supposed to be the ToyCon New Jersey spring show was, I believe, in May. That ended up getting postponed and pushed and then finally canceled. Originally, there was supposed to be a ToyCon New Jersey show in November. November 14th and 15th was supposed to be a show as well. And originally, LegionsCon 2 was going to coincide with ToyCon. So if you look back to LegionsCon last year, when we conceived it, Joe and I are the two that created LegionsCon. And when we did that, we paired it with ToyCon because we already knew we had an audience there. We already knew that the Horsemen were going to be at the show, and it just made a lot of sense. And, if you've heard me talk about LegionsCon in the past, we originally conceived it as being kind of almost like a meetup. Like, we really thought it was going to be a handful of Mythic Legions collectors and customizers who were just hanging out in a room and kind of showing off some stuff and just chatting. It ended up being so much more than we expected. I mean, it was that. It was a room with a handful of us showing stuff and sharing. But the fact that people flew in for it totally blew our mind. And we wanted to go bigger for LegionsCon 2. So I'll get to LegionsCon in a few minutes. But again, we had planned on pairing it with ToyCon. That obviously isn't going to work out. Everything got shifted, but I was really excited to see Joe able to do his event this past weekend. He moved. He used to be at a place in Parsippany, New Jersey. He moved it over to apparently a larger building in Wayne, New Jersey. The larger space allows them to, social distance a little bit better, spread out. They were only allowing so many people in at a time. So they did their best to gather and have fun, but do it in a responsible way. I definitely considered going to New Jersey this weekend. Four Horsemen Studios was not going to be there in any kind of official capacity, but they did give Joe some prototype stuff to display at the show so people could see. I really wanted to go up on Saturday and check that out, but just with a lot of other stuff going on. And I have been playing it pretty safe. I have been very much social distancing, so it didn't feel right for me personally. Nothing against anyone that went. Everyone has to make this decision for themselves. I sincerely hope that next year we're able to all meet together, not only for ToyCon New Jersey, but for LegionsCon as well. Joe Vassapolo, my good friend who was there, is saying the Wayne Powell was a great choice. Plenty of space, lots of good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So I've known Joe for a few years. We actually met in New Jersey at G-Con a few years ago at Four Horsemen Studios. And I see Joe every time I go to Jersey. He's at all of the ToyConNJ shows. And the first time I went, it's funny, I brought just enough money really to kind of get what I wanted from the Four Horsemen table. I got the show debut figures. I picked up a couple extras, and then I kicked myself for not bringing more money because outside of the Horsemen stuff, it is an amazing show. There's so much good stuff there, and that's what Joe said. I made that comment to him, and he's like, "Yeah, man, this is no joke. This is a great show." So in subsequent visits, I've always made sure to really, pad the wallet and bring some extra funds. So this past weekend, they had some really cool stuff there. They showed some test shots. So if you've ever seen the all gray test shots that they do, this is part of the production process, which once the molds are, fully made, they run examples of figures through those molds. And now, normally, if you look up test shots online, not necessarily for Horsemen ones, but just in general, they're usually crazy colors, all kinds of crazy colors, because the factories just use whatever plastic they have on hand to run those parts, because they're just trying to make sure that the pieces that come off the molds once they're assembled are correct. So really cool. with Four Horsemen Studios, they do get some of those wacky colored ones early in the process, but they really like to see things as one solid color. So they have worked out with the factories that as part of the process to also get test shots that are all one color. They're all like a grayish color. And I remember all the way back to Mythic Legions 1.0, they saw these figures and they were like, wow, these are so cool. We'd love to be able to sell these to fans. So interestingly, the first Mythic Legions figures that ever were in anyone's hands were test shots from 1.0. Because the test shots actually shipped out. They got them ear shipped over to the factory, and those hit in like December. That would have been what, probably like 2015 or 20, I think it was December 2015 that those actually hit and people had them in hands. And then it wasn't until a few months later that the actual production figures shipped. Since that time, they've produced test shots of number of other waves that they've sold as well. And there are fans that collect the test shots that have big giant displays of those. They're a fun little add-on. They're a fun little thing. I've had a number of them over the years. I think the only one I have right now is actually an Ogre Legion Builder test shot. I did get one of those. So I have one of those. They're a fun thing. They're a little more money usually than the regular figures because they have to produce them special and ship them over. But if you saw the pictures from ToyCon, you saw they had a few test shots that looked like they actually came from the Wasteland wave. So it looked like they had Taurean there. It looks like they had, it actually might have been a Fury Clan Orc that was there as well, which that obviously would have been the previous wave. But they had a little mix there. So that was cool to see some test shots. They had the horse Balius from the upcoming Aether wave. So a lot of people, they've had Balius out at shows before, but obviously some people had never had a chance to go and see that live. So people got a shot at that. A few other figures, there was a Brontus on the table. But the big thing that people were excited about was the new vampire minion. So the vampire minion character that is coming from an upcoming wave, that was really, really cool. It was awesome that the studio, you know, they genuinely felt badly that they couldn't be there to support Joe and support his show that's local to, you know, their area. So they wanted to do something special for Joe and for all of the fans that were going to come out to ToyCon New Jersey. So they revealed that figure, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of photos of it on the Cabal and elsewhere. Super, super cool. If you look at it, it's on a dwarf style body. It's got the bare hands and feet that we saw as part of the Aether wave, but that it's also got like a bare torso and arms, and they're all painted like a white. So I know a lot of people have wanted almost like a barbarian, like like a vampire with armor on. You can totally use this for that. It came with the big giant bat wings. Looks like it came with some of the chains similar to what Hagnon came with, but instead of ending in like a ball, it ends in a handle. So this is obviously meant to be, you know, like a minion of a character that he's going to be holding it. I saw someone take some pictures of a Carpathius vampire holding that minion. So that's cool. Has the big giant wings that we saw in the Aether wave as well. But then there were some new parts on that. One which I'm super excited about, and those are the lower arms. So if you looked at that, it had these like wrapped lower arms that were part of the figure. That's a brand new piece that we haven't seen anywhere else. And that hopefully is really going to scratch an itch that a lot of people have asked for. A lot of people have asked for, wrapped type lower arms and lower legs for barbarians, for instance. You know, the barbarians in Mythos right now are all walking around with this heavy, heavy armor, these giant metal boots. So the fact that this is going to give us some new parts to mix and match for customs and so forth, that's really cool. And it's indicative of something I've said on the show in the past, that this is something they want to do. We saw it in the Aether wave that they're starting to try to refresh some of that 1.0 parts library. We saw a number of new parts in the Aether wave it looks like we're going to start seeing it in the next wave as well. So Joe was there, and he says, the wing minion was so close to the gargoyle I wanted. Very happy with it. The Legions table at ToyCon got a lot of, wow, what are these things comments. Definitely going to draw more fans. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because if you're watching this show, you're clearly part of the Legions community. You wouldn't be giving up your Wednesday night to hear me babble for 90 minutes if you weren't into Legions. But it's amazing that there are so many toy fans that still haven't jumped onto Legions, and there's a lot of them that don't even know what it is. Whenever I've been at the table at the show, people come by and they're just like, these are awesome. What are these things? Which is great. I mean, being able to meet a potential new fan like that, I eat that up. I love that. So yeah, he's really, really cool. Drew saying, do the wraps on the vampire minions come off like the ogres? Yeah, those are just lower. Oh, I know what you're saying. Is it a separate piece? I actually don't know. I assumed that was just a lower arm, the way that any of the lower arms are, like any of the gauntlets or anything like that. I don't think that's a separate piece that slides on top of a different lower arm. I'm not positive about that, Drew, but that was how I read it personally. And then obviously the figure has a new head as well, which one thing that's funny about that head is we've seen that before. So Eric posted that on the Instagram page, literally October of 2018. Okay. It has been a while since he first posted that. He had just finished up the sculpture and he just threw it out there as a little fun thing to share. We're now seeing it 2 solid years later. And that's evidence of, when people think that there's not stuff happening in the background over there at the studio, that's evidence that there's always things going on. I mean, I will tell you that the first time I ever went to Four Horsemen Studios was Memorial Day weekend of 2018. So that's 2.5 years ago. That was the Intern for a Day experience. And that was my first time actually meeting those guys personally. This is obviously long before I was working with them. There were things that we saw at Intern for a Day that we were not allowed to talk about those things. We were not allowed to take pictures of those things. But I can tell you that some of the stuff I saw at Intern for a Day, we have now seen in the line. Okay, we saw ogres at Intern for a Day. So I saw the Ogre Legion Builder and Balthar the Tower. I saw all of those years before they came out. There's stuff that I saw 2.5 years ago that not only have we not seen it in production yet, they haven't even shown it as a product yet. So the fact that this vampire minion was teased 2 years ago, we're just seeing it now, it's just evidence that there's a big plan. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of longevity on this toy line. This is not something that's going away anytime soon. Stelio saying, will the wings be included with the figure? Honestly, none of that stuff's been revealed yet. All that has been revealed is just the figure itself there. The Irithyr figure, that one came with the wings. This one is shown with the wings. It's presumably going to come with it, but I'm sure that they are still figuring out pack outs for everything, whether that's a separate piece or not. Trust me, all that stuff's going to be revealed very, very soon. So that was ToyCon New Jersey. Once again, thank you to everyone that went out and supported Joe this weekend. It was awesome to see Cabal members hanging out and connecting at ToyCon. Once again, I wish I would have been there with you. The other big news right after ToyCon was done, we finally launched and announced LegionsCon 2020. So I've talked about LegionsCon on the show a few times already, but now it is totally official. You can go to LegionsCon.com. All the information is there. Registration is open right now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've got going. As I said a few minutes ago, LegionsCon 1 last year is, when I think about the best times I've ever had as a toy collector. And I've been collecting toys for 20 something years now. The best, when I think about the best times I've ever had as a toy collector, LegionsCon 1 is on that list for sure. It was absolutely such a blast. I mean, there's a lot of people, my friend Len LaGuardia, who runs Wolf King Customs. That was the first time I'd ever actually met Len. Anthony Hauseal, who joins me on this show every single week. I had talked to Anthony prior to LegionsCon, but actually seeing Anthony there was the first time I'd ever met him and had a chance to connect. There were so many other people that I had never gotten a chance to meet, even people that I had interacted with for years. Nikki Nicole Cheney, Dennis Derby. Those are two people that I talk to all the time. I've been close to them for years. I never actually met them. So being able to do that, Walter Hagen, and then I met a lot of other people that I hadn't talked to as much previously, but now I've maintained a relationship with them. Steve Sykes, Drew Grubbs, again, so many people. I got to see Joe, people that I, have talked to in the past. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. The energy in that room, everyone excited about Mythic Legions, seeing everyone else's customs and dioramas in person, it was incredible. And after the show ended last year, we closed down, and a handful of us, including Joe Viteri and myself, went across the street to get a little bit of food and something to drink. And Joe and I we were just buzzing. We were so excited. And immediately, we were 15 minutes after the end of LegionsCon 1, and we were already saying, okay, what are we going to do for LegionsCon 2? How are we going to go bigger and better? And while LegionsCon 1 was very much a gathering of fans, we wanted LegionsCon 2, LegionsCon 2020, to feel more like an actual con. So we said, well, what do they have at cons? And the first thing we went to was panel discussions. We love the idea of the open format and exhibitors having tables of stuff to show. Because if you're in the Mythic community, you see all these Instagram posts and you see the pictures on the Cabal of all the customs, but being able to come and see them in person, that's something totally different. And being able to talk to the creators, that is absolutely so cool. So we wanted to maintain that. We wanted to have a marketplace. We wanted different sellers to bring their stuff to help fuel the Mythic Legions buying community. But first and foremost, we wanted it to be fun for fans, and we wanted them to get information and content they wouldn't get anywhere else. So immediately we started talking, we need panel discussions. And what helped all of this was the horsemen themselves, because they didn't know what to expect from, LegionsCon 1. They were already going to be at ToyCon. Normally ToyCon ends at 5. We did LegionsCon from 5 to 8. So it was pretty much just like, okay, we'll hang out after the event. And all they did was they took like some of the Irithyr prototypes and they just put them out on a table and they met fans. When they saw what a big deal LegionsCon was and how much people really enjoyed what little we actually had even to offer, they said right away, hey, we want to do something bigger in 2020. We want to invest in this more heavily. So unfortunately, COVID, once again, it's kind of the cloud that has hung over plans for all of 2020, it seems. There was a lot of things we had planned for LegionsCon. Some reveals that have gotten moved around that aren't going to happen when we wanted them to. Certainly, we can't all meet in person, but we're still going to have an awesome time because we still have a really, really cool show to bring to you. So if you look at the schedule, what we're going to do is the day is going to start at 9 a.m. And when you're in a physical space, it's easier, I should say, to have kind of a showroom floor and then have a separate section for panels. We had actually wanted to set it up so the panels would be on a stage and the sound would be broadcast so you could hear what's being discussed even if you were hanging around the tables and looking at exhibits and stuff. When you're going virtual, because once again, LegionsCon 2020 is a fully virtual event. There is nothing that is happening in person. This is all online, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But what we're going to do is, it's hard virtually to have people be in two places at once. So we had to think about, well, if we do a marketplace section and people are in different breakout rooms meeting people, then they can't be at the panel discussion. So we made the decision to totally separate them. It's going to start between 9 and right about 11. A few minutes before 11, we'll close it down. We're going to have an open kind of forum where you're going to log on and you're going to see there's a bunch of breakout rooms, okay? So you'll be able to go, and each breakout room will be labeled. So we'll have a breakout room, for instance, that says Crashbox Customs. So Chris Pinkerton from Crashbox Customs, I'm sure you've seen his amazing diorama work. He's going to be on one of the panels that I'll talk about in a moment. But additionally, he is going to be one of the marketplace sellers. So he's going to be there at LegionsCon early from 9 to 11 in the marketplace in a separate breakout room that'll kind of be like this. Like you'll log in, and it's very similar to what we're experiencing here on Facebook, where you'll log in, on YouTube, and it's not on YouTube, it's on a platform called Crowdcast, but it's similar format where there will be a video. Chris will be on video greeting fans. There will be a chat that you can chat with Chris. Chris is going to be debuting one of the pieces from his Mythic Pieces line. So if you checked out his website, he's done a number of dio pieces specifically focused in 4 Mythic Legions. He's going to have an exclusive piece for LegionsCon attendees. He gave me a sneak peek at it this week. It is super cool, and it is like nothing I've seen any other. I haven't seen any other dios like this. Super, super cool. So that's what you're going to see. Brian Burke from Von Burke Customs, he's another marketplace seller that has already agreed to be there. He's also going to have a mythic piece, a debut piece, an exclusive piece for LegionsCon. He's going to be in that marketplace as well. Nikki Nicole Cheney, well-known customizer, the queen of Mythic Legions customizers. She's going to have a breakout room as well. So you'll be able to interact with her kind of in this fashion where she'll be on camera, she'll be showing some stuff and just greeting fans. And they're just a few of the people that we've signed up, the few that I'm going to talk about right now. But that's what the first few hours will look like. The first few hours will be kind of open format. Take your time, go into the different rooms, listen to the conversation, interact with people, ask them questions. It'll be a fun format like that, just like if you were walking around the con and going from table to table. Cool. Once we get towards 11, we're going to kind of shut that down because we want people, including the people in the breakout rooms, many of which are going to be on the panels, but we also want everyone to have one thing to focus on. I've been to a number of conventions over the years, and there are some conventions that are single track where it's I just got to go to this one room and I'm always going to be getting the content. And there are some conferences that are multiple presentations at once. And you're always like, I don't know where I want to be, because if I go to this talk here and I don't like it, I'm missing out on this other talk that I think might be cool too. I wanted to avoid that. It's one talk at a time. So you have one place to be, and it's just one panel discussion. Joe and I will open the show, welcome everybody, and then we go right into panels. We've got 5 awesome panel discussions for you. The first one is customizing Mythic Legions. I get to be on that panel. So that's going to be myself, Nikki Nicole Cheney, and Matt O'Toole, who you may know as Castle of Power. The 3 of us are going to be talking with Peter McCarthy of LegionsCast. He's going to be the moderator for that particular panel, 45-minute discussion where we'll talk about customizing Mythic Legions. The second panel of the day, and I'm trying to think of the schedule now, and I may have some of the ones wrong, but I believe the second one is the Art of Mythic Legions, which I got to be honest with you, even though I'm on one of the panels, this is probably the panel I'm the most excited for. The Art of Mythic Legions is going to be Eric Treadaway from Four Horsemen Studios, Nate Barch, who's responsible for all the amazing artwork you see on Mythic Legions packages, and Trevor Williams, better known as 1/6 Shooter, the guy that does these amazing, amazing action figure photos. And he has now been taking all the photography for sourcehorseman.com. Could you imagine a better group to talk about the art of Mythic Legions? That one's going to be moderated by Steve Bisciotti, once again from LegionsCast. Then we go into 3D printed add-ons for Mythic Legions. So that panel is going to be Brian Burke from Von Burke Studios. That's going, and he's, if you know Brian, he's both a sculptor, so he actually digitally sculpts all the materials, but he's also full on doing the whole business. He does all the printing, all the delivery, so he can really talk about, the whole kit and caboodle for that type of process. He's also a customizer. He paints, so I think he's going to have a good perspective. Sabadam and Julie from Planetary Dog Toys, they're going to join us as well. They're going to talk about some of their amazing creations. If you watch my show, you know how I feel about those two. You know how I feel about their work. I've got some pieces from them on my table today to show and talk about. I'm super excited to have them involved. And then finally, Emil Wickman is going to join us from Sweden. Emil is a wonderful sculptor and all around just incredibly creative dude. Emil, I have some of his work here as well. Emil's parts have been coming out from Wolf King Customs, so those will be, he'll be available as well. That panel is moderated by Anthony House-Seal, who runs the Toy Forge 3D printing company. So Anthony, great guy, smart guy, understands all these aspects because he's out there doing it as well. Before he was doing Toy Forge, he was buying 3D parts, he was customizing, he still does that. Big supporter of the 3D artist community, really excited to have him. Then we go into creating dioramas for Mythic Legions photography and customs. That is going to be Chris from Crashbox Customs, which is interesting because Chris is producing these things at a real high level, not only quality-wise, but he pumps out a number of dioramas for sale that he sells through his website. Not only has Chris put out these amazing mythic pieces, if you've seen any of the photography from Mezco for any of the dioramas they've had at some of their shows at San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con over the past number of years, Chris does all of those, or I say Chris, it's Chris and Kelly from Crashbox Customs. They do all of those dioramas. Chris is also an incredibly cool dude. Really excited to have him on board as well. The other two on that panel are going to be Dennis Derby and Timothy Peake, both of whom are diorama makers who do it more for themselves. So they're not producing, a lot of pieces. They're not doing it for production, for sale. They're doing it for their own collections, their own photography. So I think they're going to bring a really cool perspective as well. And moderating that panel is well-known cosplayer Joe Colton. So if you've checked out the Mythic Legions or the Source Horseman website, there's an article on there about what is probably the first Mythic Legions cosplay that we've ever seen. And that was Joe, who did a wonderful cosplay of Artemis Silvercord. Joe is an incredibly creative person. She actually hosts her own podcast weekly called What's on Joe's Mind. That's a G.I. Joe focused podcast. She's going to lead that panel discussion. Really excited to have her. That's going to bring us towards the end of the day, which is the 1 hour Four Horsemen Studios panel. And we got some chump named me to moderate that one. So, hey, I set this up. I'm going to moderate that panel because I want to talk to the Four Horsemen. So I'm going to moderate that panel where we're going to talk about a ton of cool stuff. And yes, there will be live reveals. So this is not just going to be us doing like an interview with Cornboy where we're just chatting about the stuff that's already out. We will be seeing new stuff. We will be dropping news on that panel discussion. Once that's done, we will move into the end of the broadcast, which is a live broadcast of LegionsCast. If you check out the LegionsCast podcast, those guys will recap everything that we have just seen, all the news, all the reveals, all the fan interactions. That will be the end of the show. Actually, the end of the show will Joe and I will come back on and say goodbye and talk a little bit about maybe next year, LegionsCon 2021. But I think that will be a really cool way to end the show with Legions Cast. Now, a few other points I'll make, and then I'll talk a bit about technology before we move on. Throughout the day, between each panel, there will be breaks of either 5 or 15 minutes. I've staggered it a little bit. That will allow you to get up, walk around, get something to drink. It will also allow us to give away a ton of free stuff. We are going to be giving away raffle prizes all day. So if you were at LegionsCon last year, you saw that we gave away some really, really cool stuff. I donated a custom figure. Dennis Derby donated a custom figure. The Four Horsemen donated 4 trolls. Last year, we actually gave away a forest troll, a stone troll, Brontus, and an ice troll at LegionsCon. This year, I'm in the process now of amassing all of the giveaways. Wolf King Customs has already shown that they are giving away a full, an Ogre Legion builder with a custom head from Emil Wickman and a custom weapon, including paints from both me and Steve Bisciotti. That is just the first reveal. I actually spoke to Andy Spinks this week. Andy is donating an awesome custom figure that's going to be given away. And I got to tell you, all of that stuff is rolling in. Yeah, Joe Vassapolo is saying that he actually won the Stone Troll from it last year. Toy Forge is going to be giving away prize packs. There's going to be a ton of cool stuff. So between those panels, there's going to be some prizes. You do not have to be watching live to win a prize. If you win a prize, we're going to record it down. We will reach out to you afterwards to get your information so we can get you your prize. Now, a few logistical things that I will talk about with LegionsCon. Once again, if you go to LegionsCon.com, all of this information is there, the guest list, the schedule, and a link to register. Registration is $6. So Joe and I went back and forth trying to find a price that felt good, that was going to have some value. Honestly, I know there's a lot of cons that are going live, that are going virtual, and they're doing it for free. Hasbro PulseCon, they just had their con. It was totally free. Unfortunately, Joe and I are not Hasbro. We don't have the marketing dollars that Hasbro does, and Hasbro is literally doing a con to show all the stuff they want you to then go buy. Joe and I, we don't make Mythic Legions. We're not selling this stuff. So this is genuinely kind of a labor of love for us to connect the Mythic Legions community. It is a significant investment of money and an even more significant investment of time. So the $6 price tag will hopefully help us defray some of that cost that we are putting forward to bring this to you, to invest in the technology and so forth. The technology itself, we're using a platform called Crowdcast. What this will allow you to do is just log in through a browser. So in past years, there would be shows like G-Con would be broadcast on like Facebook and Instagram. So you had to have Facebook or Instagram to watch the show live. You don't have to do that with this. All you need is a browser. There's an iPhone app if you want to log in that way. But as long as you have a browser, you can watch the show. And if you can't watch it live, everything is being recorded. All of those recordings are going to be fully available to registered attendees. So after the event, if you don't watch it live, it's not like all of this video is going to just be dumped on YouTube and anybody can watch it. For at least a period of time, all of the broadcast replay is going to be only for registered attendees. So there's a lot of people. I mean, look, it's 8 hours of broadcast, 8 hours of programming. If you can't sit through 8 hours of programming, that is not a problem. You can absolutely come back at a later date and watch the parts you may have missed. Very excited. I'm sure you're going to hear me talking about it more in subsequent weeks. What all of you can do, you're obviously a super engaged community. You love Mythic Legions. You support me. You support my show. Spread the word. Get people to register, get them to LegionsCon.com. The more people that are there, the better event we are going to have. Very excited. I got to tell you, once November 14th is done, because that is the date, November 14th is a Saturday. Once that day is done, I'm going to breathe a sigh of relief because there is a lot of work to be done, but that it's going to be so much energy, so much excitement. I can't wait to share it with all of you. Last few things I'll mention before we go into the topic at hand. Planetary Dog Toys. I've talked about them at length on the show. Previously, they had a model where their shop was open all the time. You could get stuff whenever you wanted. They've changed that model up a little bit. They're talking now it is going to be open for 1 week each month. That week is actually right now. So Planetary Dog Toys, their catalog of products, including some new stuff. They've got some really cool like mummy looking heads and torsos. Super, super cool. Go check that out. They also have some fun pumpkin heads that you can pick up as well. This is the week it's open. I think they opened it on Saturday, so you probably got a few more days to grab that. Other news, Wolf King Customs announced that they are doing their Monstrous October sale. That is going to happen on Saturday, October 31st, Halloween. All their stuff for this sale for this month is very monster themed. There's some really, really cool stuff. I've got some cool stuff in that sale as well. And if you looked at the Wolf King Customs post on their website and on their Facebook page, you got to see the first sneak peek at the wolf. So the first wolf that was shown, and it's just one shot, but it's a painted shot of a character called Skull Sun Eater. That is my wolf character. This is a part I helped conceive. Walter DeMarco from Mass Customs, once again, masterful sculpting job on it. I can't wait to show you the full reveal of that and everything else that's going to be coming. I'm thinking that next week is probably going to be the week where I talk on this show about the wolves and some of the other cool stuff that's going to be part of that sale. But in the meantime, mark your calendars, October 31st, 3 p.m., the Wolf King Customs sale. Really, really excited for that as well. With that, I think I'm done the news. 45 minutes in just about, and we're just done what has happened this past weekend. And there's more coming. Goodness. Trust me, after LegionsCon, the Mythic conversations after LegionsCon, it's just going to be all of us sitting here like catatonic because we're going to be bombarded with so much amazing stuff. There's going to be so much for us to talk about. I might not even put anything on the table. I might leave the table blank and just say, like, we might not even have enough time with 90 minutes to talk about all the cool stuff from LegionsCon, but let's give it a shot. So we'll see. Tons of cool stuff is coming. Remember, I've been saying for months now, I know things seem like they're going slow. Everything is ramping up. We're going to see stuff soon. There's going to be stuff happening. And literally just within the last few weeks, we've seen Big Bad Toy Store orders hit. We've seen the Exodus sale. We've got the reveal at ToyCon. We've got LegionsCon, and more is coming. If you're into Mythic Legions, buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride, and more people are going to join the ride because every time a new wave gets released, every time new things get revealed, more people discover the line. With that, let's talk Fury Clan. So the red-skinned Fury Clan Orc just had a little drop. So just one quick digression. I was talking about test shots earlier. I just went back there. I just happened to walk by it. This is a test shot. If you're not familiar with test shots, this is what they look like. They're just all, it's the same exact figure, but they're all in one solid color. I just happened to go look back there. When I went back there to fix what fell, I had that. So relevant to the conversation. Fury Clan Orc. When this figure first came out, I was super, super excited for it. I was also a little frustrated with it because of this guy. So this is my red-skinned Ifrit. You know that I love the genies and those type of characters, the Arabian Nights type characters. So it didn't take me long after doing my genie to say, okay, I have a blue-skinned genie. I need a red-skinned Ifrit to go with it. And this is a really rare custom for me because this is a fully painted body. It's not something I normally do. I don't like painting joints. It's one of the most common questions I get where people say, how do you prevent joint rub? And it's funny because both myself and Nikki, if you ask either of us how we prevent joint rub, we will both have the same answer. I don't paint joints. I come up with recipes that don't require me to actually have to paint full bodies. We've both done it a number of times and we both hate it. So we don't do it. This is an example of when I did it. So obviously this one has the bare chest along with the bare arms and so forth. But having put all that work into this full body paint job, when I saw this, I was like, oh man, I just could have waited and used this figure. But that notwithstanding, I really, really dug this character. And it was actually the third kind of unique looking orc that we had gotten. Actually, technically the fourth, because obviously we had the green skinned orcs, which we, got right away. Then we had Gorthok, the shadow orc. So those black skinned orcs, that was the second one. And then actually in Advent of Decay, the barbarian female came with an orc head that was painted flesh color as a half orc. So technically half orcs were the third kind we got, and then we got the red-skinned Fury Clan. And my favorite part of the Fury Clan is what I heard Cornboy say in an interview one day, and it might have been an interview with the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me podcast. It was either that or LegionsCast, I believe, where he was talking about the Fury Clan, and he said that the Fury Clan concept is not unique to orcs, that there are other races that are part of the Fury Clan. And that got the wheels turning in my head. As a customizer, I started thinking, I wonder what the other members of the Fury Clan look like. And then I started thinking, do they all have red skin? It was great fuel to work off as a customizer. And I didn't do much with it. So one of the great things about the Fury Clan Orc, and by the way, Fury Clan Orcs, there's a reason why I'm doing this tonight. These are available on Big Bad Toy Store right now. And no, I don't get paid by Big Bad Toy Store. But if anyone from Big Bad Toy Store is watching this and you'd like to plug the show and send me free stuff, I'm happy to take it. But I'm currently not on their payroll. I'm just a customer that spends a lot of money there. Big Bad Toy Store has Fury Clan Orcs on sale. They're $50. Great value for that price. And one of the cool things is with the Fury Clan Orc as is, this is pretty much a Fury Clan Orc out of the box. This has got just that shield on the back. But the fact that you get these two different heads right out of the gate, you've got two unique looks for your Fury Clan. That's really cool. And it's one of the things that I think we all love about the line, that even if you're not a customizer, you can very easily just get these figures and swap parts, including the heads they come with, and create new looks for your characters. So the first Fury Clan custom I did was this one right here. And I think I've shown this on the show before, but this is my Fury Clan female. And this is a super easy custom. This is actually a Zarya body. So the red demon Zarya, all I did here was take Zarya. I swapped out her hooved feet for some normal 2.0 feet. And I took one of those heads that I just mentioned, the half-orc head that came with the barbarian female. I took that head, I repainted the skin red to match the body, and I just added a little bit of kind of, scuff into the helmet, like a little bit of dry brushing to fit the rest of the armor of Zarya. Super, super easy customization, but it looks really, really good alongside those two Fury Clan members. So that was the first thing I did. And I liked the idea of what Cornboy said, that there are other members of the Fury Clan, but it wasn't actually until this show that I started exploring that idea. And it was with this guy here, my Fury Clan vampire. So if you've watched the show every week, there was a show that I did, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago at the most, where I just kind of painted stuff. And I said, I'd been a while since I'd done some live work on the show. And I just kind of said, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to paint today, but I'm just going to paint some stuff. I'm just going to chat and paint some things. And I had a bunch of heads. On that show, I took a goblin head and I just painted it black and I made it like a shadow goblin. I painted the same colors as the shadow orc. And I had a Carpathius vampire head and I just started painting it red. And I didn't finish it on the show because it requires actually a number of coats of paint. But once I was done, I just really, really dug the way that head sculpture looked in red. Something about it, I was just like, oh, that looks really, really sharp. I like that so much. So I just made a custom. I took a Fury Clan Orc. I swapped in, I put on this lower skirt piece that's from a Lord of the Rings Gondorian Ranger. Usually comes in blue. I painted it red. And that's all I did. These are some Fury Clan weapons. It's a painted head and a skirt. Super easy custom. But the minute I put this down with my two Fury Clan Orcs and my Fury Clan female, floodgates opened. And I said, I got to start painting everything red. I wanted to see all the different races of Mythos represented in the Fury Clan. And the other thing that fueled my fire here, I talked on the show about how I've recently gotten into Mezco. So Mezco, one of their original characters is a group called the Pink Skulls Chaos Club. And it's literally what it sounds like. It's some pink skulls, and they're kind of like punks. But just the idea of those characters, like a group of these characters, they're all similar, but there are differences between them, really got me thinking about creating what I now call my Fury Clan gang. So I imagine them as not so much a race, but really bonded together as part of this gang. What's unifying them is this, this skin color. Visually, you look here, this is a sea of black and red. So that's what got me to start thinking about, okay, I want to paint more of these. Now, let me step back for a minute and talk about how I paint them. Because if you're going to paint Fury Clan, this is not the only way to do it. It is just the way that I do it. And I will tell you that it takes a while. It is a pain in the butt. This is the paint that I've been using. So this is a Vallejo. This is flat red. The number on it is 957. So I've talked about it in the past. I've recorded videos. Vallejo paints are my preferred paints. I know that's not, I gotta figure out how to do that. I gotta figure out a better way to make this actually focus. The camera that I use when I record my individual videos focuses way better, but I found that if I go live with it, it tends to be problematic. So still learning. But that is the color I use. And what I typically do is I start by basing out whatever I'm going to paint in black. So this is actually an example. This is an orc head that was released by Wolf King Customs, sculpted by Emil Wickman. Really, really cool head. I actually painted a number of these for their most recent sale. And it looks great. Just pop that on a Fury Clan Orc, and I think you get a really cool look right there. So when I was trying to, kind of paint match to the red of the Fury Clan, if you've heard me talk, you know that paint matching is definitely not my expertise. People ask all the time for recipes, and I'm like, I just guess and pray. And sometimes I get it right. But what I found with this is I start with that black base. I dry brush that Vallejo flat red on. And that first brush, you got to be patient. Okay. That first coat, you're going to be like, this is never going to work. The color, it's so dark. It's like a dark, dark, dark red. It's not the brighter red that we have here on the Fury Clan. Keep going. I find that after about 4 or 5 coats of dry brushing that red, you get a really, really nice hue that is almost identical to what you have for the Fury Clan. And the great thing about dry brushing is you can lay those colors on. It does use a lot of paint, not going to lie. I burned through bottles of these doing this. But that is what I have found to be effective for my Fury Clan. So everyone that you see here, all of the red that I have painted, that is exactly how I did it, using that color and then dry brushing 4 to 5 layers. So with that in mind, I started saying, okay, I'm going to add some customs here. And one of the first customs I did, I didn't really even customize. I didn't really even paint it. And it's my Fury skeleton, Clavian. So the red-boned Clavian, this is a funny figure. Obviously a really hard figure to find. And the reason he's hard to find is he wasn't a super big seller in the first Mythic Legions wave where he was available. I think a lot of people, there was a number of skeletons in that first wave. And I think a lot of people, they obviously gravitated towards the Skeleton Legion builder because it was a low-priced figure and it looks great. Like, when you look at like the Dwarf Legion builders, like a silver dwarf, it's almost all one color. The horns are a different color, and it's even the loin piece a different color. It's predominantly all one color. The Skeleton Legion builder was the one that felt like it had a lot of value because the bones on the arms, the legs, and the face, even though the armor had no paint detail, those were all painted enough that it didn't look like a figure that had essentially no paints on it. So I think a lot of people saw real value in that Skeleton Legion builder. And I also think, when you're going to pick and choose, if you're not going to buy everything and you're going to buy skeletons, I think people probably gravitated more towards some of the more traditional looking skeletons, Malleus, even Tibius, versus a red bone skeleton like Clavian. So while he sold, he was not one of the better sellers in the line. And subsequently, now as new collectors come in the market, he's a tough one to find, this red bone skeleton. I was looking at him in my case and I immediately was like, Fury skeleton, I'm going to put him with my Fury Clan. And the red bone color is almost identical. It's perfect. Now, my particular version of Clavian has this awesome custom head that was done for me by Zombie 13 Customs. So you may know Zombie 13 today from working with My Action Figure Customs. I've known Zombie much longer. I've known him long before he was working with My Action Figure Customs. Both of us used to be on the old Four Horsemen boards, and I used to engage with him all the time. I bought a number of casts and parts off him because that's how he used to do these things. He would sculpt these traditionally and then cast them and paint them himself. And when he did this head, I had Clavian. For whatever reason, I didn't love the figure, and I thought this head would look really cool painted for Clavian. So I reached out to him and specifically said, hey, will you paint this to match Clavian? And it's interesting because I posted this the other day, and Zombie, he replied and actually said he thinks this is the only one of this head he's ever done in Clavian red, and I'm fortunate to have it. Very, very cool. So when I went from that and I started saying, okay, where am I going to go next? The next 2 characters I did, the first one I did was a Goblin, because you all know that I love my Goblins. And I said, well, I need a Fury Clan Goblin. What am I going to do for that? And I posted this the other day. This is my Fury Clan Goblin, very Mongolian look to him, which is intentional. So this custom uses a really cool head that was sculpted by Kevin Delius of, you may know him as Jim Panson Creations. So this was put out by My Action Figure Customs. quite a while ago, actually. And I'll be honest, I bought it and immediately didn't know how I wanted to use it. And it sat in my pile of heads for a while. And I wasn't inspired to use it. I couldn't figure out the way that I wanted to put it on a custom. And then it all just came together, as it often does. I put it on a Thwick body, and I did a recipe that you've seen me talk about in the past when I've talked about my Mythic Shogun series. You know how much I love putting the armor parts from articulated icons figures onto Mythic Legions. I did that. I painted up this head. I gave him some of these articulated icons weapons, as well as this lower skirt piece from Lord of the Rings. And immediately I had this cool, almost Mongolian looking character for my Fury Clan gang. Now, at this point, I want you to know I've now got two, I'm literally telling you the story of how I built all of these. I've now got 2 orcs, and I've got a female orc, and I've got a vampire, and I've got, the goblin now. It's starting to come together. I've got the skeleton, and I'm starting to see different races, and they've got different kinds of armor and different personalities. And that's really what I'm getting excited about here. And this is what's fueling me to keep going. I love the idea of a gang of characters that are tied together in some smart way, but all visually look different. That's one of the reasons I don't think I've ever really been much of a Legion builder. I think it's incredibly impressive. Okay, for all of you Templar lovers, please bear with me. I hope I don't offend you. I think these legions of Templar figures that I see people put together are really cool because there's so many of them. But for my display, it feels like too much of the same. I would have to have so many. I'm impressed that they have so many of them. They've built an army and they're focused on that. But for my collecting, I like to look at a shelf and see visual variety. My friend Richard Jones in the UK, he's super into Templars, and he's kind of doing the best of both worlds, where he's building out a display of Templars, but they're not all just wearing the bucket helmets. He's got different races and different kinds of characters. I've actually done a couple undead Templars that he bought off me that are part of his display. That mentality is what I really like. Seeing that variety. I like when I look at a shelf and everything, there's so much to look at. It's eye candy. There's so much to look at because everything is so varied. And that's what I was going for with my Fury Clan gang. And the more I created, the more I wanted to create. And then I started just ticking down okay, what other races in Mythic Legions or in my customs can I make red? I'll paint everything red. Paint the world red. I got this one next. So this is my Fury Flare, and I posted this one yesterday. So this particular figure uses another head from Zombie 13 Customs. Once again, he sculpted this traditionally. This particular head is actually very special because it was painted by Nikki Nicole Cheney. So Nikki was selling this a short time ago, and I do have a few pieces from Nikki in my collection. I've long said that I'm a toy collector before I'm a toy customizer. So I really do appreciate the work of other artists. And I do have work from a number of artists in my collection alongside my customs. But once again, a super easy customization once you have the head. All I did here was use another skirt from Lord of the Rings. This is from a superposable Boromir figure. Pop that on, good to go. Another cool, very distinct looking character for the game. Nick saying red is objectively the best color. Not that I have a bias. Red and black, I mean, it looks great together. I know that my friend Peake from LegionsCast, he loves the red and black look. There's just something, I mean, I will tell you, as cool as these look, they're so darn easy. You get that Fury Clan, you pop any custom head on it, you pop a few parts from Lord of the Rings, and you will have a distinct looking figure, and it looks wonderful. Joe's actually said all my Fury Orcs have 3D printed heads to give them a different look from the green ones. Absolutely. There are so many available orc heads out there. This is not hard to do. So now I start thinking, okay, what other races can I do? I want elves, I want dwarves, I want different kinds of characters. I want some beasts, okay? So this is one I showed today that people really seem to dig a lot. This is my Red Bull. This is the Red Bull, my Fury Clan Minotaur. And it's interesting because I think this proves a couple points. It's interesting on a few ways. We've talked on the past and people have talked about, I've seen in the Cabal, do you have any customs that you continue to come back to and tweak and change? And absolutely, I do. But additionally, I have customs that I put in the collection that I genuinely like, that I will repeatedly just go back to and totally overhaul. So if you look on my website, under the section for demons, there is a black demon that I made using parts from Taurean. So Taurean, the black Minotaur, that is going to be available once again in the All-Stars 3 wave. The thing I never cared for about Taurean was his armor color. Now, his armor color is very similar to an old 7th Kingdom Minotaur figure, which that alone makes it kind of cool because it's almost like a throwback. But I always pictured a Shadow Minotaur having darker armor. So I had taken the Taurean body parts and I used the armor from a Barbarian builder to make him all black. And the other thing I did was I pulled out his horns, because the horns on the Minotaur helmet, the heads are removable. I pulled them out and then I popped these larger black horns in. Now, those don't fit naturally. I did have to expand the holes a little bit with a Dremel, and I glued these in. But I've had this black Minotaur wielding this wicked hammer. So this hammer is from an old McFarlane Toys Zodiac. It's like the Taurus figure from their Zodiac line. I've had him wearing that for a while. And as I was doing this, I immediately was looking at the different races and I said, oop, Red Bull, I've got to do that. And I actually just finished him this morning. Was so jazzed on him that I immediately took him out to do a photo shoot so I could post him on Instagram today. Very, very cool. Anthony's saying, are we getting a Fury Kitsune? I actually did a Firefox. So originally I did a reddish color, but it had oranges and yellows in it as well. And I put it on a King Noglin body. So I do have that behind me, but I have been thinking about whether I should do one that's all red and do a Fury Kitsune. Knowing me, I'm probably going to have to do it. But back to this guy here, really dug how he came out. He's got these cool skull armor pieces. This comes from that Warcraft Arthas figure that I've talked about on the show numerous times. That's like the gift that keeps on giving. That figure is amazing. It just so many good fodder parts. So that is everything that I've shown so far. Now I'm going to show you a couple pieces that I haven't even yet revealed yet because I'm not done. I got more Fury Clan. So talking about beasts, I also did this guy here. So this Fury Clan Jaguarian uses this wonderful head from Planetary Dog Toys. And you've seen me paint something like this in the past. I did a Shadow Jaguarian a while back that I painted the colors to match the Shadow Elves. This was similar. The one that I did for the Shadow Elves, this particular head comes in 3 different expressions, totally like calm, one that's like growling, and then this one that's kind of snarling. I had done the growling one, the angry one previously, but I liked this one as well. This is my favorite of all of their cat heads. I totally dig that. And once again, all I did here was I popped that head on, but I wanted it to be a little different. So the Minotaur I just showed you, because remember, I'm looking for variety. I don't just want to pop a new head on a Fury Clan Orc and call it a day. If you've only got a couple of them, that may be fine. But as I start to build out this number, I want them to have more visual changes. So if you noticed on the Minotaur, he's got a bare chest. Now that's for a practical reason as well. The neck piece that works with the Minotaur looks way, way better on a bare skin chest than it does on an armored chest. But for this one here, I actually used a custom torso piece also from Planetary Dog Toys. So this has a head and that custom torso. I've talked about these feet in the past. These are from a Stan Winston Realm of the Claw figure. I know there are feline feet out there. Zombie did some with my action figure customs. These are my favorite feline feet to use. I tend to like, I know they're big. I know they're a bit oversized. It's a giant red cat man. The size of his feet is a variable. That they can be a little unrealistic. I think that's okay in this context. Aesthetically, I like the big chunky feet. It's my opinion. But that's what I use here. These Stan Winston Realm of the Claw feet, if you've never heard me talk about them, they literally plug right in to the lower legs of these 1.0 figures. And then I've got this shield, which was originally from a 1/6 scale figure. I don't even know where it came from. I picked it up in a pile of parts, and it just looked darn cool alongside this Jaguarian. What about elves? What about Fury elves, right? So I've actually painted a Fury elf in the past. When I did my Samurai Mythic Shoguns series, I was also having this mentality of a series of things that go together. They were all kind of like samurai looking characters, but different races and different looks. So for that series, I did a goblin and an ogre and a skeleton and so forth. I also decided to do this Fury Clan elf. So what I did here, whenever I paint these elf heads, these helmets do come off. They're not easy to get off, but with a little bit of heat and careful determination, you can pop those heads off. I've talked in the past about removing parts. I did a whole show about it. Removing parts from Mythic Legions figures that aren't technically meant to be removed. In this particular case, I find it so much easier to paint the skin of the elf figure if the helmet's not on. Otherwise, you're going to bleed. You're going to hit the helmet itself. It's going to be a sloppier paint job. So I pulled that off and I created this Fury Clan elf. Now, as much as I like this figure, it doesn't fit in with my Fury Clan. Not because of the samurai armor. I just showed one in samurai, but because of the colors. This uses golds and reds. That didn't fit in with what I was trying to do. So I decided to make myself a second Fury Clan elf, but to paint it in colors that I think matched better with the rest of my Fury Clan. And this is starting now. What you're seeing, these are Fodder Bin Customs. These are literally me going through my fodder bin and putting pieces together, because now I'm at the point where I've got the bug. I'm hungry to build out more Fury Clan members. But unlike what I did with the Fury Clan Orc, where that provides my base body, when I'm making elves and dwarves, which I'm going to show in a moment, obviously I can't use the Fury Clan Orc body. It's a totally different kind of build. So this is just a mix match of parts. The torso here is from the Goblin Warrior or the Goblin Soldier, the one that came with the female and the male torso here. The lower legs are from that as well. Just a mix of parts. The upper arms, it's a little tough to see on camera here, but the upper legs and upper arms, they're actually from the Iron Knight. So that's the Legion builder, actually the female Iron Knight Legion builder. They work really well. That's not a bright silver. The Steel Knight is like a bright silver, but the Iron Knight's a little duller. Works really well in this regard. Once again, pulled off that helmet, and in this particular case, I didn't even glue this helmet on so I could show you when that helmet comes off, you can see what you're left with for that head. And you can even see the blue on that head. This started out as a shadow elf. But when you pull that helmet off, it allows you to not only paint that helmet more effectively, but it allows you to paint that skin underneath it. And you just pop that. Just the thing you do want to be careful is this little tip on the front and these edges. When you pull that off, it would be really, really easy for you to snap that. So just be careful as you're trying to remove that. But again, a bow, fodder bin, a bow from Articulated Icons, a quiver from an old Spawn figure. This is actually some fur that I got from an ogre, from a Mythic Legions ogre figure. Puts together another unique looking character. One thing I realize is in my customizing, and certainly on this show, I don't talk a lot about female customs. And it's not intentional. I don't do a ton of female customs. And I'm actually not alone in that. It's very clear that the 1.0 builds 1.0 parts are more popular than the 2.0 parts with Mythic Legions fans. That's not groundbreaking news. If you just look at inventories, you will see that 1.0 figures tend to sell out quicker. Well, by definition, there are no 1.0 females. They're all in the 2.0 line. The females seem to not be as popular with customizers, which is too bad because they are amazing base figures to use. So as I was doing this, I said, I need another female character. I decided to do another female elf. So this is yet another female, or another, I should say, Fury elf, but this one a female. And this uses a head from Thalon Frostbow. Ironically, I actually had a Thalon head that had a big black mark on it. Just came that way out of the package. There are ways to clean those smudges, but I didn't need the head, so I just kind of threw it in the fodder bin. But it worked really, really well to repaint here. And once again, Fodder Bin Custom. These are just a random assembly of parts. Some of these upper arm pieces are from a Night Builder. Normally it's got blue details there. I just painted those red. Lower skirt from some Lord of the Rings figures. And then some weapons. This red crossbow came with the new Lord Dragool figure. This red sword comes with Thump. Those red weapons just add that sense of red adds. Because unlike the Fury Clan Orc, where they've got the red head and arms and legs, when I'm doing a figure like this, if I just do the head red, there's not as much of that color. So when I start thinking about the palette I'm going to use, I start saying, what other ways can I put red? Little splashes of color. You saw it here. All of this is very, very deliberate. The fact that I used that red loin, the fact that I painted those arrow tips red, those arrow tips were green to begin with. But I try to keep these things consistent. So you look at these now, and what a cool little pair those look like, right? My two Fury Clan Elves. None of these are hard. All of these customs I am showing you use this red color dry brushed onto whatever I'm painting it on. In some cases, it's a 3D part, like I showed you with that Jaguarian head. In other cases, I'm painting right on top of an existing figure. Now, for Thalon Frostbow, I spray painted that in black to begin with. But for that Fury Minotaur, that was already it was Taurean. That was already a black head. So I just painted right on top of that. Fury Clan all have yellow eyes. So all of these you will see, they're just little dabs of yellow eyes. And the only one that doesn't have that is Clavian, because he's a skeleton. He ain't got no eyes. But that's what I did for all of these. These are not hard builds. These are literally just painting things red and using a smart assembly of parts and forcing myself to create this wide variety of characters. Now, the last one we're going to look at today is actually a character that I'm going to show on my feed tomorrow. and that is my Fury Clan Dwarf. So obviously all the dwarf lovers out there, I couldn't do this assembly of figures and not include the dwarven ranks in my Fury Clan. This uses a custom head, once again printed by Wolf King Customs, sculpted by Emil Wickman. So this head was just available for sale in the most recent Wolf King Customs, their artist sale that they did back in, what was that, August? I had this head and I wasn't sure how I wanted to use it because once again, I saw, Chris Middlecamp and I saw Emil both paint this as just a wonderful looking dwarf. I wanted to do something different with it, and this was the perfect opportunity to do that. The helmet that I use, this actually, when I always talk about the weird, obscure toy lines, I've talked about Shadowrun in the past. Shadowrun, I've shown actually a dwarf head from Shadowrun called Draven. This is the helmet he came with. Works really, really well on this head to give me that cool look. The body here, love, love, love using this body. This is a Borrier body. So Borrier body with those hooves swapped out for some normal dwarf feet. Great, great custom base to make a dwarf. Lower, the robe he's got on is from my fodder bin. That is from a Black Series Kylo Ren. Couple shoulder pauldrons from a Skeleton Legion builder that were painted with some red highlights. And then this weapon that I gave him, what I actually did for this weapon, you'll notice this is one of the big Warhammer type weapons. I just broke that Warhammer, just snapped it. So I've just got this exposed handle. And then I took this axe head from an ogre figure, and it's not a super, it doesn't fit super easy. I mean, it's easy. It's not meant to go together, I should say. But with a little bit of force, I can pop that in there. And I've got this really, really cool big axe. I'm ironically not a huge fan of the double-bladed axe that comes with Mythic Legions figures. It's never been a weapon that I'm super fond of. And subsequently, I only have a couple figures on display that have that axe, that use that axe. But this one I thought really worked well. And I love the fact that I can put it in this hand here. And then this piece up here just seems, it goes so well in that hand to have him hold it like that. So that's my Fury Clan gang thus far. I was actually talking to Anthony today, and I sent him this picture, and he asked if I have every race from Mythic Legions represented so far, and I don't. I actually don't have a human. So, I mean, we've got clearly human characters, barbarians and knights. I don't have a human character in the Fury Clan, nor do I have an ogre, actually. And I've seen Fury Clan ogres. I saw one that JD Brocious of Shelf Gravy did that is absolutely stunning, where he took a figure, and I think he worked with Dennis Derby, and they figured out a way to dye these figures. That is still a process I have not yet undertaken. It's on my to-do list, but they dyed a figure, I think black, so they could then brush on the red and the joints would be black and it would kind of actually work. So a Fury Clan ogre is probably the top of my list for what I need next, for the biggest kind of character, the biggest race that's already been represented in Mythos that's not in my display. Once again, Anthony asked about a kitsune, and I can never have too many foxes in my display, so I clearly going to have to do that at some point. But I can't necessarily think of any others. I don't know. Can you think of any other races that I should do? I will tell you another figure that you can do at home that I think would be a great Fury Clan addition. So if you need a Fury Clan skeleton and you can't get Clavian because it's just brutally hard to get, Brother Mandibulus. So Brother Mandibulus is on sale at Big Bad Toy Store for $50 right now. And it's great because he's the right color scheme. He's got the red and black chest. It's different than all of these, different than the Fury Clan. So it'll give you some new look there. And it's only got, most of that figure is armored. He's got a skeleton arm and a skeleton face. It would not be hard for you to paint that arm red. I would paint it black first. And that arm, by the way, if you pop that arm out, right, you can pop off the gauntlet, pop off the lower arm, so you have that piece. And the upper arm, you can remove that piece of armor. It's just glued there. Remove that with a little force. I would spray paint those pieces black, dry brush them with the red. That face, paint that in black, dry brush with that red. You could totally have a really cool Fury Clan skeleton with a minimal amount of paintwork using a Brother Mandibulus. Drew saying a Fury Pig from Planetary Dog. Yeah, that's one. I mean, there's Warrior as well. Fury Knight. Yeah, Joe, that's probably the next one I'm going to do. So when I was thinking I don't have a human, I was thinking, you know what? Not every one of them needs to necessarily have their flesh shown. So maybe what I want to do is take like a Black Knight Legion builder and add some dry brushing to make it scuffed like this, and then maybe paint some red accents on the helmet and the armor and go black and red for that character that way. So I am thinking Fury Clan Knight is next. Fury Templar. Yeah, but see, the Templar's got the silver. So plus I'm all set with Templars. Templars are overdone. I have my display of Templars. That's one that for whatever reason, it doesn't appeal to me to customize as much. Josh saying Fury Thistlethorn. Yeah, that'd be good right there. A Fury, what are they called? Fuzzmonk. A Fury Fuzz, because that's what it's called. They call them Fuzzmonks. A Fury Fuzzmonk. I don't actually have an extra Thistlethorn head, but if I did, I would absolutely do that. So I'm going to have to get a Thistlethorn head for that exact reason. I'm looking around now and I'm thinking, is there anything else that I could do? I mean, there's certainly other types of characters. I mean, just looking at the Wolf King Customs gallery, the library. I mean, we've got the turtles that are coming on at some point. I could do, a Fury Turtle. There is definitely different characters that I could do, but right now, just kind of sticking to the Mythic Legions type characters that have been released. I think I'm doing pretty well. And quite honestly, with this many, they're all on one detail shelf. I'm getting pretty full. I don't have a ton more room, so I'm gonna get to the point now where I'm gonna have to be a little sparing. I definitely think a Fury Clan Ogre, a Fury Clan Knight, and then maybe a Kitsune, and then maybe I'll take a break for a little while, right? So that's what I have for tonight. If you have any questions for me, I got a few more minutes to hang out before I get to sign off for the evening and put all these things away. Once again, thank you all for joining. Thank you all of you who, tune in and stick around all night to hear 90 minutes of me babble. And as always, to everyone who checks out the show afterwards, who has subscribed to the channel, who spreads the word, shares the link, all those things, it is very, very much appreciated. With that, I think that we're going to call it an evening then. No more questions coming in. Once again, we've got a month. It is October 14th today, November 14th, 1 month from today. We are doing LegionsCon. I'll be talking about it each week as new news happens, as new reveals happen, new information comes up about LegionsCon. If there's anything to share with you, I will certainly do so. In the meantime, if you haven't registered, go to LegionsCon.com, help us drive those registration numbers, and let's make this thing a great success. Until next week, same Mythic time, same Mythic channel, and I look forward to that conversation.